Hi, MacArthur. Let me know when you can hear me.
I hear you. I hear you.
Perfect. Alrighty. The first off, the exports on ACX. The first thing is the bit rate and the bit rate method. The change in that is just going to be the way that you export the audio. So if you open up Audacity and you have a file open, right? So if you I'm going to open a project on mine so I make sure that I tell you exactly the right things. All right, so let's see if I can screen share that. Yeah. All right, so what you're going to do, you've got a project open. You're going to go up to File, Export Audio, and then Export to Computer. So then what you need to look at is the bit rate and the quality. Can you see my like export audio bubble?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, yes. So you can see it has channels, mono, stereo, custom mapping configure. I'm going to leave that on mono. Sample bit rate, that is fine. The 44 100 hertz, that's CD quality. We're going to leave it there. Now, bitrate mode is is what we need to look at here. So when I was looking over, they say bitrate method file is not encoded in constant bitrate. So my guess is it's probably variable. Yeah, it says VBR, so it's a variable bitrate. So you need to change bitrate mode to constant. And the nice thing is once these are set, it'll kind of be your default in your program. It saves it. Then it says above that bit rate kbps, kilobytes per second, value 107. File is encoded below 192 kilobytes per second. Re-encode the original source audio of this file using a bit rate of 192 kilobytes per second or higher. So what this is they're wanting CD quality. So we go to quality there, and you have all these different things. Now, the reason someone would do lower is that the higher quality takes more space to store on your computer. But we want CD quality. So we're going to click on the 192 kilobytes per second. It says yours is currently 107. So my guess is maybe it's set to like 112 or something. So you have to make sure that's set to 192 kilobytes per second. But also my guess is this was on variable and we want it
Gotcha.
constant. So changing that, export range, entire project, and then you'll just click export there. All right. So that is the main thing that we need to look at. The other, the last is the peaks, your decibel peaks. So peaks exceed 0 decibels. So my guess is it's too loud, only at certain points. The peaks go too loud. So reduce peaks to below, excuse me, -3 decibels. Read guidance section 1, adjusting high peaks for further guidance. So if these peaks are too high, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to narrow those and get it softer. So I'm going to go in here to volume and compression. Now, one thing is that you might have just amplified it too much. But if I use the compressor and the limiter, I'm going to narrow that down and help it to make those peaks come down. Oh, I didn't select the audio. There we go. So if I go up here, probably I can just do the limiter, but I'm going to show you what each do. So I've got the compressor, and you can visually see it sort of compressed the audio, right? Now, if I do the limiter, um, so this is probably what's going to fix it for you. Um, Threshold decibels. You want to make sure this is set to -3 because that's what ACX requires. They said your peaks need to be reduced by -3 decibels. And if you go in your limiter, you have threshold dB, decibel, -3. It's going to apply that. Okay. So
Copy that.
just make sure that's on -3. That's a pretty strict parameter. So I'm going to apply that. And then it's going to make sure it's set to that. And then when I export, it's probably going to be perfect. Yeah. So check those things. All right.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Cool. Alrighty. So that explains that. Um, so it's just those three things. So resetting your export settings for the bit rate method and the bit rate kilobytes per second to 192 constant and 192 peaks. If you do the compressor and or the limiter and have it set to the -3, you should be good to go. All right. So then let's talk a little bit about our character voices. Um, for Igor, I really like it's higher pitched. I like the kind of gritty, gravelly quality you incorporate. I really like the nasality. I really like the pitch variation. And I also really like you've got like moments that you kind of widen the vowels. And it sounds like he's really giddy. So some things I really like about it. Okay, so Usopp. With his voice, you've got sort of like a plugged up nose kind of sound, and it sounds sort of like you like have marbles in your mouth, which is kind of fun because I've never heard you create a voice quite like that before. It also sounds to me like he kind of has like a big fat tongue in his mouth, like, and he over pronunciates. Um,
Gotcha.
and he sort of like elongates and stretches words out. So he has a totally different character to the Igor. So I think it's really fun hearing the contrast between the two, and I'm really enjoying what you did with both of them. So I was really pleased with both. Um, I also really like the shifts throughout the scene because you have different things happening, at different parts in the scene. And I feel like you did a really nice job of showcasing when that happens, that it's like something changes and then you have a sharp shift in the character's voice. I really like that. So, some really nice stuff there going on. So, I was very pleased with it. How do you feel about them?
Um, so I felt good. I felt pretty good about them. For Igor, like while I was like practicing, like doing his voice, it was actually like an older script that we did like couple
Nice.
it was a minute ago that I was like, oh man, I think this voice, if I could like fit that voice a little bit into it, I was like, I feel like it'd be pretty nice. It'd be pretty cool to kind of hear that. And so that's
Mhm.
kind of where like the I guess you'd say like the inspiration for that voice came from was kind of like a script we did in the past, and I was like, oh, I think that voice could kind of fit a little bit more in here as
Yeah.
well. So
Cool.
I felt pretty good about that one. And then like with
Very
Usopp,
cool.
I went back and like watched some of the anime for
Nice.
the English voice actor, and then also like while I was doing his voice and like kind of doing like the character and like kind of seeing the scene, Ron Stoppable from the show Kim Possible kind of like came into mind, and I was like, I feel like in this scene, both these characters would kind of be doing the same thing, and so I kind of like his voice as well, like faded into the voice I was trying to make in a sense.
Yeah. Cool. I love it. So, going back to the original and studying what the characters are doing there and getting the style for that particular show, hearing the choices those voice actors are making and the direction they've received. I love that you went back and studied that. I also love that you took a voice you had formerly created and, you have it in your tool belt and you can just pull it out and use it. That's awesome. That's really, really great. I do that all the time where, I'm doing an audition or something and maybe I'm trying to get it in pretty quick because I've got projects due or whatnot. And then I just say, oh, I feel like this other character voice that I've created in the past would work really beautifully for this character. And then that's what I do. So I just pull out something I've already developed. And then, the more voice acting you do, the more you have to draw on. You've got so many different voices that you can pull from at that point. So really nice. Love it. That's great. Okay, so I was really, really happy with that. So then what would you say would be the primary goal for today? What would be the most helpful thing?
Um, just kind of getting back into like the book and kind of just
Yeah.
making sure like I have like chapter 3 down because I have not touched chapter 3 in like over a week. Uh,
Okay,
so it's like oh man, like I think I literally only read like a paragraph on it, I think,
sure.
and so it's been a minute since I like touched the book.
Okay, absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and pull out the book. Yeah, I know that too, you were under the weather, so and I think, we were trying to not go quite as like low and deep with the voice last time. Um, Play with some other like higher voice types due to the like vocal fatigue from having, had the sniffles and whatnot. So I think that's perfect to, get back to it now that you're feeling back to normal. So let's go ahead and take a look at where you're at. So where have you gotten to at this point?
I've only gotten to like the second heading where it's like the Old City Jail, a chamber of torment and restless spirits.
Nice. Okay, great.
So not that far into this
Hey, that's
chapter, but
cool. It's all right. Yeah. The thing is, like, you're taking the time to get quality. And the thing is, when you record a book and you put it out in the world, that's going to be out there, So that's something that represents you. I listened to stuff that I did when I very first started, and I kind of cringe because I'm like, oh, I'm so much better now. Um, so I'll listen to them and I'm like, oh, yikes. And that's out there forever. So, um, you know, taking the time to really make it good is great. And at the time it was the best that I could do. And so I'm proud of that journey. And if you hear, what I was doing then to what I'm doing now, you can definitely hear growth. So I don't mind having that journey out there so people can hear the quality differences and the growth. But I do sometimes, listen back and I'm like, ooh, this could be a lot better. So I appreciate you taking the time to try to make it, as high of quality as you can because that's your brand that you're putting out there. So yeah, that's good. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here. So the thing I want you to really think about is think about the strong points of view. So when you're talking about the old city jail, like how do you feel about that old city jail? How do you want your audience to feel about it? Um, is it a place that's exciting and fun? Is it a place that's really spooky and scary? Is it a place that should strike terror in the hearts of all who walk by it? Um, is it a place that is, you know, quiet and eerie? Is it a place that is mm, like a challenge, like conquering a mountain to go into? So how do you want
Gotcha.
them to feel about it? What kind of emotions do you want to evoke? And, creating the ambiance, but then also thinking about the individual locations that you're talking about and the different haunting stories, right? Because they're all different places. Yeah. So you can
Gotcha.
have a little
Gotcha.
bit of a different feel for each one based on like what happened there. Um, so like my college that I went to, it was in the deep South in Georgia, and it was a small Baptist college, and we had an unusual number of hangings for a tiny Baptist college. And like one was at the president's mansion, and they said you could see the ghost of his dead wife who had hung herself off the back balcony, sitting up in the window, and I swear I saw her a couple times. Um,
Ooh.
and like
Ooh.
there were other things too, like a haunted painting in the music building, and the organ would just like play itself sometimes in the middle of the night in the chapel. Um, my room, my freshman year across the hall, the year before, a girl had hung herself in that room. There was a guy who like failed a class when he was supposed to be graduating, and he like jumped off the top of the building that was like the admin building and killed himself like
Gosh.
a few years before. Like it was crazy how many things had happened
Ooh.
there for this tiny little Baptist college. And I could give a different sort of like sound telling each of those stories. And the school also, it had been an all-girls school back in the 1800s, and there were like these spooky catacombs underground for the whole campus because men had to travel underground when it was an all-girls school. Um, so yeah, like a lot of really weird things about this campus, and like spooky stories and things that have happened. The oldest indoor pool in all of Georgia, but then it had like spooky stories associated with it. So there were all these like really weird things, but I could tell each of those stories with a different kind of energy and ambiance and point of view towards each of them, right? And even things like the time period, like when did it happen? If the president's wife killed herself in the late 1800s, maybe I give that a little bit of a different kind of sound than the guy who's desperate and terrified to tell his parents that he failed this class and he won't be graduating. So in, the feeling of terror and like paralysis and not being able to, go on and start like work and life and having to spend more money and stay at school, he chose to kill himself rather than confess to his family that he had failed, you know? Whereas like maybe the president's wife could be like postpartum depression and like more like slow and heavy feeling and just giving up and, falling and her neck snapping as she hung over, the back where there's a cliff that hangs off the side of the hill. Those kind of things. So I can
Ooh.
I can give it a different kind of feel. So I
Right.
want you to think about, with this story, how is it different than the previous one? And what kind of emotions do we want to evoke? And, you know, the pacing, the mood, the setup for it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
Like a jail, I would think, it's probably seen a lot. There's probably been a lot that's happened in this jail. And, all the different like criminals who've come and gone, and did they torture the prisoners, did they starve them to death? um were there riots in the street over a certain prisoner at some point. So thinking about what kind of sounds you can do with your voice to create those different kinds of moods. Yeah. All right. So let's
Gotcha.
go ahead and try this section. Let's take a small chunk, just like a paragraph, and we'll work on it.
The Old City's Jail, a chamber of torment and restless spirits. The Old City Jail of Charleston is a foreboding structure with a dark history. Built in 1802, the jail housed a variety of prisoners, including pirates, Civil War prisoners, and the city's most notorious criminals. The conditions within its walls were deplorable, and many prisoners suffered greatly.
Nice. Yes. Good. And how do you feel about the prisoners? Like, do you feel sorry for them? Do you um loathe them? Do you think that they got what they deserved? So, how do you feel about them?
I would definitely say sorry because it definitely seems like a jail that was not like a good jail to
Right.
be in. It felt like they was just kind of like packing prisoners like in a sardine. Said, "All right, you're here. You're not gonna mess with society anymore. We're not gonna try to help you, and we're gonna experiment on you or torture
Right.
you." Like that's
Yeah.
what it kind of feels like. So it's like I
Or
kind
like
of feel
work you to
sorry.
death, make
Yeah.
money on you. Like, yeah, it seems like it's pretty, you know, like, oh, not a great place. So we're going to feel sorry for them. So that needs to come through that it's like, this is a bad place. You do not want to be here. And the man in charge of this jail is a sadistic, nasty person. And I mean, the thing is, like, a little known fact is that the Nazi camps were actually based on camps here in America that we
Oh,
had for like immigrants that we had put into camps. And so they literally and at the time there was a lot of like eugenics going on and trying to like make a pure species. And what's kind of like unknown, like what a lot of people don't know, is like Disney actually financially supported Walt Disney
oh,
financially supported Hitler. And like at the time, it was a huge thing in America, these like camps and trying to like purify the species. And there were a lot of very prominent people who were wealthy in America who were actually supporting Hitler at the beginning. And he built his camps based off of American camps. And so we had a lot of like really not good stuff going on at the time. And so like that's not very well known. Like obviously we want to
yeah,
hush hush that in our history. Um, but also like if we think through the history of prisons, I mean, like it literally vagrancy was a crime. And just like walking by train tracks was a crime. And you could be thrown in jail for years and worked as a slave, basically. Like while you were in prison, you just had to work and were forced to, things like that. So, like, not having a job and just hanging out on the sidewalk, people could be arrested for. So, like, we had some really twisted things that were going on back in the day. And so the people running this jail, obviously, we're going to be like, they're sadistic and cruel. And we feel really bad for these prisoners because this was a really rough, awful place to be.
right.
Um, so letting that come out in your voice more. In the book, we're not hearing like specific details of individual stories, but we want to still give that impression. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay.
Great.
Copy that, copy that. Okay. Ooh. All right. The Old City Jail, a chamber of torment and restless spirits. The Old City Jail of Charleston is a foreboding structure with a dark history. Built in 1802, the jail housed a variety of prisoners, including pirates, Civil War prisoners, and the city's most notorious criminals. The conditions within its walls were deplorable, and many prisoners suffered greatly.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it feels a little more like heavy and like ominous and almost like the way you would talk at a funeral, like we're mourning for what they went through. So a very different vibe than some of the others. Um, it's kind of like the feeling. So I've been to Alcatraz multiple times because I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it's honestly like the coolest historical tour I've ever been on because they use voice acting. They have like a headset and you hear like voices of the prisoners talking to you and you hear like it's like the audiobooks that they turn into the it's like a movie in your mind thing where they have all the characters and things. It's so
Yeah. Ooh,
cool. It's
that's
such a
actually kind
cool
of cool.
tour. But it like you leave feeling so just like numb almost because like you are walking through the prison. You're, experiencing it and being able to like see it in your mind and and be in the place where they walked. And this was a place that you could not escape from. And if you tried, you would die. Literally, one person ever made it from this island to shore, and they died right after. The water is so cold. There are sharks. The current just takes you around and around and around and around Alcatraz. So you can never really escape from this place. And um, I mean, it was a like bad place to be. They sent the worst of the worst prisoners there. Like Al Capone, like mob bosses and things. And it's such a like chilling experience. And that's what you have the opportunity to do here is like give them that feeling, let them leave feeling that just like chilling eerie, being like, ooh, I don't want to be there kind of feeling. Yeah.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha,
So I feel like this one can have a really um, different feel than some of the other locations. Yeah.
gotcha. Okay, okay.
Like with witches and New Orleans and stuff like that. Like I feel like that can be a little bit, different vibe. Um, but this is like men were sent here and tortured and, you know, left to die, like rot in their own piss and die of diseases and work to death?
Yeah, I
All
got
right,
it.
let's
I
try it
got
again.
it. The old city jail, a chamber of torment and restless spirits. The old city jail of Charleston is a foreboding structure with a dark history. Built in 1802, the jail housed a variety of prisoners, including pirates, Civil War prisoners, and the city's most notorious criminals. The conditions within its walls were deplorable, and many prisoners suffered greatly.
Nice. Awesome.
So I was like, holding that one.
Yeah, what do you think of it?
I like it. I like it. It's definitely like different from the other chapters that I've done. And like now even doing this, I want to like go back and like read some of the places of like the other chapters I've done and been like, okay, let me like deep dive into
No, it's
this.
fine. Leave those, leave those. So, what the thing is, like, we just always do the best we can do today. And if you ask yourself, did I do the best I could do today? And the answer is yes, then you keep going. You have to keep going forward or you will never finish a project. I have another student whose previous coach, because she did a like voiceover workshop before she started coaching with me, they were like, you can never do narration because they were like, you're way too much of a perfectionist and you will never get it done. But the thing is, like, I told her, I was like, if you feel like it is 80% there, leave it. And she was like, really? I was like, yes. She is so much of a perfectionist. She will just sit there and nitpick 5 minutes for an entire day. And I was like, yeah, you have to get over that. You like they said, you'll never finish a project. So, and I'm sorry, you're not paid enough to spend that much time on narration jobs. It's too much. It's too big of a project, and they're not paying you that much. So, yeah, you can't. You have to limit yourself down. Like, so my so basically, the industry standard is that one finished hour should take you 3 hours to complete. And that's for like a professional who's in the industry working full time, that kind of thing. Um, so that's my goal. I don't want to spend more than 3 hours on one finished hour of time. So I can spend about, like an hour prepping, an hour recording, and an hour editing approximately, right? And I don't spend more time than that. That's it. And I feel like so much of the time early on, voice actors spend a lot more time in the editing process, which makes sense because you're trying to figure it out. A lot more time preparing. But I would say if one finished hour is taking you longer than like 6 hours, that's too much. Yeah. And you're being like too hard on yourself. So I would say do not go back and redo anything else. Keep
Copy
going
that.
forward.
Copy that.
Alrighty. I thought that was really great. So let's go ahead and go to the next chunk.
The jail is believed to be one of Charleston's most haunted places. Visitors have reported eerie encounters with apparitions, unexplained noises, and the overwhelming feeling of despair that seems to linger in the air. The old city jail stands as a grim reminder of the city's less savory past, the lingering spirits of those who endured its torment.
Nice.
Sweet.
All right. Yes. So we're kind of keeping that same feeling there. I want a little more bringing out those key words like torment, making
Gotcha.
sure that those key element words are leaned into and spotlighted a little bit more. And when you say them, make sure that, like, especially descriptive words have kind of the feeling of what the description means. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Jail is believed to be one of Charleston's most haunted places. Visitors have reported eerie encounters with apparitions, unexplained noises, and the overwhelming feeling of despair that seems to linger in the air. The old city jail stands as a grim reminder of the city's less savory past and the lingering spirits of those who endured its torment.
Nice. Good. That was better. All right. So then let's play with hmm, let's play with having it feel just a little bit like heavier, kind of like walking through thick mud.
Okay.
Can we try that again?
Yeah. The jail is believed to be one of Charleston's most haunted places. Visitors have reported eerie encounters with apparitions, unexplained noises, and the overwhelming feeling of despair that seems to linger in the air. The old city jail stands as a grim reminder of the city's less savory past, the lingering spirits of those who endured its torment.
Nice. Good. Awesome. All right. So, how'd that feel?
It felt good. It felt good. It's the words that I want to like highlight is like despair, grim, savory, torment.
Mhm.
And so it's like trying to like get those words highlighted, but also like stay in like that same like heavy voice set. Like it's very, I guess like different
A
for me.
balance, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's just
So
like a new kind of focus, a new approach. Yeah.
yeah. So
Nice. I thought it sounded really good. I know sometimes we try to do things that are kind of, I mean, they're just new. It's a new approach. And so it just feels kind of awkward or, like uncomfortable at first just because it's new.
right,
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, right?
right. I feel you on that. I feel you on that.
Hmm. Yeah. So, um, good. So I would say just kind of practicing it to get a little more comfortable with it so it feels like it flows a little bit more. Um, yeah, so let's just try it again. Can we also think about like if you were reading this to maybe like a group of children around a campfire telling spooky
Oh,
stories?
okay. Okay. I'm so sorry you had to hear
You're
all
good.
that.
It's all right. Hey, we all get coughs. No big deal.
All right. And then so it's a campfire story. Okay. All right. The jail is believed to be one of Charleston's most haunted places. Visitors have reported eerie encounters with apparitions, unexplained noises, and the overwhelming feeling of despair that seems to linger in the air. The old city jail stands as a grim reminder of the city's less savory past, the lingering spirits of those who endured its torment.
Nice. Good. Excellent.
That one definitely felt like different in
Hmm.
my, I guess like thinking of like, all right, you're telling this to children around a fire. So it made me feel like to have that heaviness in the story, but it also felt like I was trying to scare them in a sense
Yes.
also.
Uh-huh.
So it was definitely like different with both of those feelings of like, I want these kids to be scared, but I also want them to understand the heaviness of this jail
Mhm.
and what these people had to go through, like in a sense. So it was definitely different.
Yes. Awesome. I love it. It's so interesting how whenever you have a person or like a group, if you have an idea of who it is that you're talking to and you kind of visualize them in your mind and direct it to them, it can change everything.
Yeah,
So I always like to choose someone that I feel like I'm directing it to. So
copy
that was
that,
great.
copy that.
Awesome. Good. So let's go ahead and go to the next chunk.
That was actually the last chunk
Oh,
for that
perfect.
heading.
Great for
Yeah.
that part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. It was beautiful. Yeah. So, you're going to work on that. That's okay. Let's go to the next section then.
The Dock Street Theater, Spirits of the Stage. The Dock Street Theater.
Okay. So thinking about this, I would probably make it a little more like dramatic flair, like
Mm.
you are a bard or something, telling the tale because um, you're talking about a theater. So making it a little bit more like showy, maybe. Thinking of like a touring minstrel telling tales in the street to the crowd kind of a thing, you know.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
play
Okay.
up the drama a little bit more.
Gotcha. Historic playhouse that dates back to 1736. I'm sorry, I'm just like reading through it,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Like the
good.
first paragraph right now.
No problem.
1736 is known for its elegant architecture and its association with the famous actor Junius Brutus Booth, the father of John Wilkes Booth. It's also known for its ghostly inhabitants. Most famous. The first paragraph slash three sentences. Okay. The Dock Street Theater, Spirits of the Stage. The Dock Street Theater, a historic playhouse that dates back to 1736, is known for its elegant architecture and its association with the famous actor Junius Brutus Booth, the father of John Wilkes Booth. It is also known for its ghostly inhabitants.
Nice. Awesome. How'd that feel?
It felt good. It felt good. Definitely was trying to like imagine like if I was like on a person like if I was a person in front of the like just on the sidewalk in front of the theater trying to like
Yeah.
tell the story of the theater to like anybody who passes by or wants to like kind of stay and hear it.
Right. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. So for this one, what do you feel like are going to be your, I guess, like main words you want to bring out? What do you want to draw focus to? Um, what do you want to make your audience feel about this theater?
So like kind of from like this first section like scanning like this second section, the last section. It feels more of like I want you to be intrigued and wanting to learn about this theater.
Hmm.
Like I want to like bring you in, hit you with like kind of like I guess like the hot spots or like just like introduce you to this theater so that when you do leave me, you're like, I want to look up this theater's history. I want to read about this theater. So I guess like more a feeling of like intrigue and mystery and like excitement, I guess,
Yeah.
but also have like that lingering feeling of like, oh, if I go set foot in this theater or if I go watch something that's in this theater, like I'm not watching it alone. Like somebody's gonna be over my shoulder watching it, and it's not gonna be the person I came with.
Yes. Love it. Yeah. So, and I feel like the theater is it's a place where you want to give people a show. You know, you want to entertain them. You want to leave them wanting more. So, I feel like I would probably play that up a little bit more, that the whole point is entertaining them here.
Mm, I feel you on that. Okay, okay, I feel you on that. Gotcha. Copy that. Copy that. Okay. The Dock Street Theater, Spirits of the Stage. The Dock Street Theater, a historic playhouse that dates back to 1736, is known for its elegant architecture and its association with the famous actor Junius Brutus Booth, the father of John Wilkes Booth. It is also known for its ghostly inhabitants.
Nice. Very good. What do you think of that?
Whew. I am so sorry. I'm hoping like by the end of this week that cough
Yeah.
is gone. But
Aw. Yeah, I would try take some Mucinex with the expectorant plus the cough suppressant, because the expectorant part's gonna thin any congestion and help drain it and clear it out. But then the cough suppressant will protect your voice because the cough's gonna be kind of rough on the vocal folds.
copy that. Copy that. Gotcha. Yeah, because I'm like this is like I feel like so much better. Like I don't feel sick, but it's just like this cough is like, yep, I'm still here. And it's like, why? Why are you still here? Everything's already left. The germs have
Mm.
left my body. It's like, why are you still
Yeah.
here?
But it's still cleaning everything out, like from your immune system fighting back. So, yeah, it happens, unfortunately.
But yeah, like this one, like I like it, like entertainment wise, but still like we're I'm trying to think of like a scare. So like to me, like how people like say slashers are like kind of horror movies. Like for some reason, I this is kind of like the same feeling I want to give people. Like, hey, this
Yeah.
isn't like a scary movie, but this can happen, and there are these scary people and scary things that are out there. As
Hmm.
like that's I guess that's kind of like the Drudge feeling I'm going with like because like the main words of like I'm like wanting to hit is like historic playhouse. Like, oh, this is a nice little playhouse I can go in, but it has ghostly inhabitants, and it has a famous actor, and it's the father of John Wilkes Booth. Like, so like it feels like there's definitely like playful like words in there that I'm like, oh yeah, these are the words I want to hit. But then it's like, oh, it goes from like playful and like, oh, it has like these very historic famous ties to these people
Hmm.
that are famous, but not for the not for a good famous thing. But and then it's like, oh yeah, but we also have ghostly inhabitants. Like there's spirits in here as well, guys.
Hmm.
So like it's definitely fun and entertaining, and with the
Yeah.
like with the backside of like, nope, we're it's still scary in here. Like be careful when you walk in here because you might not walk out alone.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So then, good. So I want you to be working on this week. Try to get it recorded this week. At least the section we just finished. Try to get that one recorded. Yeah.
copy
And
that,
then go
copy
back
that.
and try to re-export the audio with using the compressor and the limiter to narrow down those peaks, and then export it with the 192 and the constant bit rate. Okay?
Copy that, copy that.
Heck yeah. And let me know if you still get like a red flag on ACX and what it says. And then just send me the recording when you're done with, well, the chapter you can just upload to ACX so I can listen to it there. Cool.
Will do, will do.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Awesome work today, McArthur.
Thank you, thank
That
you.
was really productive. Be drinking lots of water,
I will.
electrolytes,
I'm
sip on
trying.
some broth,
I got you
warm
on
water with lemon and honey, all
that.
those good things.
Yeah, I'll be like eating like four of those like honey haws things like one time, and I'm
Oh
like, oh,
yeah.
I'm like
Those
yes,
are
my
great. I love
yeah.
them.
I'm like
Like
my
I feel like they make a huge difference.
oh, most definitely. And then it's like you run out, or like I forget my bag at home, so I have to like 8 hours work by myself. I'm like, oh, my
Hmm.
throat feels horrible right now. Like I
Oh,
wish I had those bags. I'm like, oh.
yes, I love them. I think they help so much. Um, Like my husband sometimes will just like when he doesn't know what to get me for a gift, he'll get me those, and I'm like, this is always a good gift. Thank you so much. I also really like Grethers pastilles. They're like a European, I'll type it in. Grethers pastilles. They're like a European cough drop, but they're like soft and squishy. But they're
Oh,
so soothing because they've got like echinacea and licorice root. Like I feel like it's like a lozenge that feels like you're sipping on throat coat tea. And they're like fruity and delicious. They're so good. And they don't have any like anything drying in them. They feel so like they just coat your throat and it feels so hydrated afterwards. They're really nice. So maybe check those out.
gonna have to check them out now.
I know somebody who, for her show recently, she like as a gift to the cast on their opening night got everyone a case of Grethers pastilles. I was like, that's a really good gift. That or like the Wetter Spoon honey lozenges. I'm like, they're amazing. Or you could use like Entertainer's Secret, like the throat spray. That's another good one. That's really soothing. It kind of tastes sicky. It's not too bad. But yeah, maybe check them out. Might help. But yeah, the Mucinex with the expectorant and the cough suppressant is like the holy grail for people who use their voice and get a cough. So, yeah, could be really helpful. I
Yeah.
don't recommend using Sudafed because it basically makes your vocal folds like thinner and weaker and more prone to injury, and it takes longer to recover then if you like try to use your voice while you're on it. If you're just using
Mm.
it and you're resting, no big deal. But if you're using your voice to like create character voices or record or anything, I would definitely recommend that you not use Sudafed and you use the Mucinex with the expectorant and the cough suppressant instead. Yeah?
Gotcha, gotcha.
Alrighty. Cool. Well, awesome work today. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be really good when you record it. I thought you had some really great sounds today. And I actually like that like your voice is pretty consistent, but then like the energy changes a little bit for the different settings and the different places, spooky places that they can visit. Um, so yeah, I really like that. So I don't feel like you need to go back and redo anything because I think that each place can have its own kind of tone and sound to it. So I like it. I think it sounds real good.
Copy
Alrighty.
that, copy that.
So keep up the great work. Did you want to meet same time next Monday? Because Mondays
D-
I think usually end up being the best for you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
That would be
totally down with
17th,
that. Yes.
10:30 Eastern. Cool.
Yes, man.
Yeah, so we'll do that. Yeah, because I know in the past you like had mentioned with like your work schedule and stuff, mornings are usually better, and it seems like Monday morning tends to be like a pretty good time usually. So we'll just lock that in for you. Alrighty.
Appreciate it,
So I will see you
appreciate it.
Monday.
Yep, we'll do, we'll do.
And hopefully your cough is long gone by then.
Oh man, I hope so. Oh gosh, I hope so.
I hate when they stick around. It's just like, ugh, it's annoying. Yeah. So I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. Drink
Appreciate it.
some
I
herbal
appreciate it.
teas, like chamomile, peppermint.
I got you. I got you.
Alrighty, I'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye, MacArthur.
Bye.